I apologize, guys, for not being able to make a video in for last night for YouTube, but I wanted to make sure to wake up this morning and just put a little update out there in case someone wasn't able to join the live show this morning and give you guys some of those daily expected moves. And we do see 524.01 to the upside, and we see 503.75 to the downside for the SPY. Now, it is very likely that we are going to see volatility continue, but we are going to see a bottom form here in some way. Now, we could spend a lot of time down here, but if it is going to be a little bit quicker, I wanted to go through those type of scenarios right now with the information that we have, right? With the information that we have right now, with the price action that we have right now, how would this overall bottom for the time being? And the truth of the matter is you have a potential bottom if you're able to still, even with the terrible price action, even taking out this low for a moment, you still have the opportunity to bottom right now. And the reason for that is because you are seeing a lot of stocks that are giving you the 30-minute divergences. And we use this as a way to understand like, hey, this could be a big moment for something like Meta. This could be a big moment for something like Nvidia that is overall showing divergence. A lot of the semiconductor stocks are showing divergence in some way. Now, this would mean that we would need news behind this. This is a seriously news driven market. We see that AMD as well has that weakening in momentum in this area. And the reason that these 30 minutes could lead to these 30-minute divergences on your MACD, and look how significant it is for AMD here. My goodness, that is a significant divergence. And you're seeing this in other places too. So don't think it's just AMD and NVIDIA. These are just the two I'm going to show off for right now. The reason that these are very good signals is because this is what you could see as a hint before that 2 hour crosses up. And I want you to see how close that is to going positive. And if we really look at the last time we were able to go positive, we actually crossed that positive territory for something like AMD here. So throughout all of this, right, throughout the divergence that was created and all of this, like the only upside you really got to was around that 101.36. While once you actually went positive right here, you actually see we were able to get that move all the way to 115. And if we really pull this, that means from that area, we actually saw a run, if you count in the wick, of almost 15%, 14.5%. So, and the last thing that we saw was the 30-minute divergence, big move, right? We saw that little divergence here, not really shown on AMD, but shown down there on your RSI very well. Not really shown on the MACD, but we noticed that on the SPY. So the timing with this was with the SPY, and you see that these bars here, while they're actually going positive, not able to break through. That's a big deal. You needed to break through because then you could see one of these type of moments. And what we're talking about here is the fact that you still have a low, you have a higher low, and now you have a 30-minute divergence. And if the 2 hour is able to curl up, that can be a good thing. So let's take this information back over to the SPY. If we take this over to the SPY, we can see the SPY is in the same type of scenario. So really the semiconductor market is helping out the SPY, but the SPY doesn't have the 30-minute divergence. So the truth of it is, if we're able to curl up a 2 hour chart and see that strong move and take out these levels, maybe and have good news behind it, that's going to be key. You're going to have news behind it, as this is a news driven market. We need a resolution to what's going on. We haven't given up everything since the pause for the SPY, but some stocks have. Okay, so we can pay attention to our daily expected moves. We can understand like, hey, this is where failure can happen. But if that 2 hour is able to rotate up and we're able to see strength, that can be a very, very good thing for the SPY right now. Now we're going to talk about the other way that this could form, and that would be we need to make a divergence in this area. And maybe we're able to do some of that today. Maybe we're able to go to that daily expected move, and then we actually turn back down to go down to our 95% line, our daily expected move downside, our weekly expected move as well. There is a huge confluence of data here suggesting that this is very, very strong support. So if we need a little bit more time, well then, we could see a divergence form here for the SPY over the next couple of trading sessions, right? Today and maybe going into tomorrow, we see that last push down in the morning, and then we're able to see some upside. The key thing is any bounce that we're getting has to have really good news behind it and has to continue to have that strength. The reason that has to have news behind it and have that strength is because you're in a market where if you see a pop, you're going to see a drop without news. If there is no reason for this to be going up to here today, right now, and that just falls and we get no news as that is going up, you can see that just roll over again and go rolling over into negative territory. So that's just something I would be aware of. If the 2 hour is crossing up and we're able to hold that, that would be a good sign. But we need to understand that if this wants to extend out just a little bit from here, the 30-minute divergence could pop up. Now I'm going to talk about something else. What if we see a bigger move and then that move ends up failing and we end up breaking this low? Well, now you have that big measured move. You have really come down to the area where I think you could call cup and handle a formation here. And this would be very, very interesting to break down. This would mean that the 2 hour might even flash up for a moment and then fake people out. So I'm talking about now the third step, how this would extend for a little bit more time is we actually get a decent sized move here and then it actually fails like throughout the day. Like, right, we gap up or something, we go up and then we just turn right back down after violating a daily expected move, catching people off guard up here. People think this is the bottom, but there's no news behind it and then it rolls back down. What this would mean is some stocks are going to hold up better than others, but we are going to potentially even retest these lows, even cut them out for a moment. We're going to see another flash sell moment. We're going to fool around down in these areas, right? And maybe this is able to see something rapid that we can create some kind of divergence down here. And on Friday, we actually come into that weekly expected move. This would be a very interesting way. We'll see if we can go down to lower levels, right? You can create that anytime down in these areas. The reason you can do that anytime in these areas is because we saw a surge in upside. So depending on if news is lagging behind, if this is going to take into next week or next Monday or over the weekend, then this type of scenario would be available, right? So we're kind of talking about how this would bottom out now, how it would bottom out this week, and then how it would bottom out more so going into Friday or Monday or Tuesday of next week. And that would be this scenario we're in right here. So for the time being, if this wanted to do that, the reason for this is because you could create a daily divergence, right? We could be creating a daily divergence. So I wanted you to be aware of the multiple scenarios that can take place. And that means we're going to see some kind of upside move, maybe fill that gap and then see this come down and see this still remain crossed on your MACD and then go down even further for another trading session or two. And then we find our footing somewhere down below the 95% line, below the 95% line. The way that we know, like, hey, this is really, really bad is one, if we do not create a divergence, we do not even look like we're forming a divergence and this thing just gets wiped out. We actually violate through this bottom side towards 460, we violate through that dramatically, and then we actually use that as resistance again, and then we can maybe see one of those bear market type rallies down in these areas. Because for the time being, if we're able to figure our stuff out here, all-time highs are still on the table in my book, because this is can see a really big surge. All right, so this is how it would extend even further. This is more so how it would go into next week is eventually you'll end up down at these lower levels. You'll probably create some kind of reversal signal in there and we'll pay attention to it. And then we'll see what happens from there because that's how this would really elongate for some time. And then that's also how it would break down, right? I'm kind of doing this on the fly, but you get the point. You could be seeing a bottoming at any time, but it's going to need that good news behind it. So if you get a pop without any good news, it's very likely that that is going to be sold off, right? It's very likely that it's going to be sold off unless during that upward tick you see good news as well. So something we can pay attention to today. Hey, is that 2 hour, what's the good thing to pay attention to right now then? Which scenarios are really good to pay attention to right now? Well, that would be, does the 2 hour curl up into positive territory would be the first thing, right? That's a main thing to pay attention to. And then when that does, or if that does curl up, we need to be watching that 30-minute and make sure that this is not rolling back down into what? Negative territory. We are pretty deep here for the SPY, even though those semiconductors are showing bottoming. And I think it's highly likely that we do make a higher low. Well, I need to understand that has to have news behind it, or else this could just be a fake out move that curls up the 2 hour, but then rejects, turns back to the downside. We see the 30-minute go down to deeper prices, and then one of those other two scenarios would be on the table. So I just wanted to break this down of like how this thing is moving and what could overall be curling things up. And then we can go over to the Qs and see that this as well. And you notice that for the SPY, both of those are below the monthly expected move. Now, we don't have reversal signals down here. We see them in the semiconductor market. We see them in Meta, but for the time being, and we even see them on Amazon on just a 2 hour chart, right? If these 2 hours curl up, a lot of charts are suggesting the 2 hour divergence as well. So just don't be sleeping on something that actually looks good if it confirms. Because if we have news behind it, that can be one of the best moves of the year, right? This was one of the best moves of the year, and we were able to catch that because we were paying attention to things like this. So the Qs as well. If the 2 hour is able to curl up, look at that 2 hour. Can it go positive? Well, if it does, that's where really, really good things can start to happen. That's where you actually go into a positive trend and you have the opportunity to react to something like 480 and see a big move, maybe see a small pullback to use that weekly move as some support. And that would be fantastic. So we're really watching this and just going, okay, if the 2 hour curls up, that would be good. But guess what? If the 30-minute goes up here and then rejects, we could head down a little bit lower, maybe to our weekly expected move to actually see that divergence form on the 30-minute, see it to form on the 30-minute for the Qs as well. The last time that we were using information like this, I believe it was August 4th of last year. Okay, so I wanted to talk about that for a second because we can go through all those scenarios again, but they're pretty similar, right? If this curls up and breaks down again, watch for divergence. If we see a bigger drop, we're not able to get that divergence to confirm. We could head to lower levels into our 95% area where you actually form that reversal signal, maybe going into the end of the week. And that would take out these lows and give you what? Well, daily divergence, right? Because we could make daily divergence, that would be the most extended I think this would get. And if daily divergence is there and that actually confirms, that would be fantastic. But I wanted to talk about the semiconductor market back in August, right? Back in August of 2024, we actually saw the semiconductor market with similar signals to what we have over here right now with this dip down. Okay, we actually saw the similar thing right here. And I want you to see what happened when those reversal signals did confirm, boom, to the upside. And remember, during this time, we were saying thank you to NVIDIA, thank you to NVIDIA, thank you to NVIDIA again, right? Because those were actually showing the reversal signals. And I want you to notice the mean pullback. I think if we do get that big upside move, we will get a mean pullback in some way. That might people think, hey, this is some kind of big dead cat bounce, and then it just whips back up because people thought this was a dead cat bounce. It looks like a dead cat bounce because you didn't make divergence or anything like that. So it's very complex. And you didn't really make a higher low until that moment. Okay, but it was able to go positive. It was able to curl down and it curled back up into what? Positive territory. So in this scenario, if we curl up and then curl back down, curl up, then curl back down, as long as I was able to go positive and it's able to curl back up into positive territory, that could be a good thing. So I just wanted to mention that because this was a time where we had reversal signals from other stocks, other big stocks in the market. And we do see that right now, even as the Qs here look like they could see another roll over. We do see those reversal signals right now. So I do believe I really think that the way this is shaping up, we need to really be paying attention to the next 5 trading sessions. See if this is going to extend longer, but also be paying attention to within that 5 days, do we see an upward push that gets dramatically upward because of news, and that will really help us out. The next thing I wanted to talk about was volatility. As of right now, the SPY is almost revisiting the lows, right? We're almost down to these lows from, let's say, April 7th, right? But if we look at volatility, April 7th, we were way up here, right? We were way up here. And you're telling me that volatility should be potentially above 40 right now. It potentially should be above 40 right now if this is going to be a major thing. But what do we see from volatility? Well, volatility has crossed down on the daily MACD. It is in positive territory. So we can utilize this as some kind of, hey, this can get a lot worse kind of indicator. If this curls up, then this can get worse, okay? And we might be experiencing a bigger drop if the daily MACD can confirm up. Right now, you are seeing that this is not even confirming with the price action. It's not confirming with the RSI, and it's not confirming with the MACD. So this drop that we're experiencing right now is not the craziest thing in the world. It doesn't mean we can't go make that divergence. I wanted to show you this, right? We were talking about the SPY, seeing that weekly expected move, and seeing the SPY come down to about here. Now it's experiencing a bounce, and then we could reach down that one more time to create actual divergence right at that weekly expected move, even though it is kind of like a zone, okay? So we could have already gotten that tag technically. I'd have to look at the error zone, but for the time being, we noticed that the 30-minute was able to go positive. So we can see that if that situation was going to happen, what would happen here with volatility? Well, the 30-minute would then cross up. People would say, oh my goodness, volatility is coming back in. And then we might see a 30-minute divergence right here, as it really looks to me like this is pretty damn controlled from volatility at this moment. It is pretty damn controlled, and we aren't seeing that pop off. So even though we're seeing price action come down, we're not seeing those big bearish bets go out there, right? If volatility is higher, you can assume there's big bearish bets. That's why back here, big bearish bets. And what ended up happening at the end of it? Oh, we saw a big move to the upside. So if we're going to see this as a bottom right now, we're not going to go make that 30-minute divergence, which is, I think, the thing we're going to first pay attention to on today's live show this morning. Make sure you join us. Then the 2-hour chart here might just curl down into negative territory right away in the morning. And if we have news behind it, then that is really how volatility can end up back below or at 20. We can see a big move here coming in, almost a flag-like type of look. We see that curl back down off of about 36.11, and boom, look at that. It takes you almost right to 20 if it is an equal move. Now, what we'll pay attention to is if any kind of big reversal signals do confirm here, a 2-hour divergence or something like that, but that is unlikely to form. We talked about this a couple videos ago. Even though it really looks like a stock market crash is, say, happening, or is happening, happening, whatever you want to say, we do not see those things from VIX right now. We just don't. You do not see them from volatility, right? Until this happens, the daily. This is the only way that we really see volatility going up more dramatically, because the 2-hour here and the way that the RSI is overall behaving does not look like some kind of massive push is coming. It really looks kind of lackluster, and the 2-hour could cross down. And even if that 2-hour crosses down, you're going to be potentially making a divergence just in the middle of your zone. That's just not necessarily something to pay attention to. It's really not, because a lot of the time, the reason you pay attention to divergence is because there's an overreaction. That overreaction goes overreacted and gets the double dip, and then the MACD overall proves to you that it's an overreaction with a divergence, right? And you see the weakening in momentum. As of right now, it would be very difficult for VIX to even form that. It would be very difficult for the VIX to even form that. So just be paying attention out there, because this could be something that proves itself as a bottom in the next like 5 trading sessions. And I'd seriously be paying attention to any bounce that confirms one of those signals that we went over for the SPY. Maybe today being, hey, I need to pay attention to the 2-hour. If that confirms up and we actually get good news behind it, we actually can see that continuation. And the reason that we can see that continue and see such a strong move is because, one, these little, I know it looks small, these little moves here are 4%, 5%. This move right here was almost 11, I think it was 11%. So you can see another 11 or 12% move like this get up to a key level, maybe even go higher than that towards our 576. That would be great. See a mean pullback, use this as now support, and then see if that comes to the downside. So that's a thing I would be paying attention to with those other scenarios in mind. Hey, I need to be watching the 30-minute today in case this needs to make a divergence down by all of this confluence of lines. I mean, my goodness, the daily expected move, the weekly expected move, and the 95%, the second standard deviation monthly expected move, which we just used. So if price gets down here, say thank you, because it'll be very clear on confirmation that we could see a massive move. And that is something that I would risk more money behind, is what I'm saying. But then after that, if those things don't form, or this kind of thing fails because there's no good news, we might go down to lower levels to create the daily divergence. And that's as like worse and terrible as I think it's going to get. Things can change, and as we get more price action, we can continue to develop our thinking behind it. But for the time being, my goodness, it looks like we might be, we might see a bottom, I would say, by next Wednesday. But for the most part, I just want to pay attention to these signals and make sure that I'm actually seeing good news behind any kind of bottoming signal at this point. But it really looks like we're close. If it wants to extend further than next Wednesday, okay, awesome. We will continue to pay attention to this and understand we're in a rip around kind of market. But for the time being, volatility not behaving like it's going to massively come in again. And it doesn't even look like it could form the signals to reverse back around in a meaningful manner at this moment. We are down almost all the way down to these type of lows down in here. But volatility, if you want to draw the inverse of volatility right now, it would be volatility up really high, like low down here. If we're kind of taking that volatility push and flipping it the other direction, right? Flipping around the chart, we can notice that from this area, well, volatility matched this pretty well, right? Volatility matched this. It saw a big move, and then it went dramatically down but it went down further, and then now it's sitting somewhere in here while the market is down lower. So you do see volatility not reacting the same as the market. And that's why I think we really need to be paying attention to bottoming signals over the next 5 trading sessions, or into next Wednesday, I think is what I would overall say. And then we'll go from there. So we will be updating this as we get more price action. Things can always change because the market can do what the market wants to do. It's just our job to react. So we need to have a plan for if something is going right, we want to get that plan, right? If things are confirming on the 2-hour, we want to see if that's going to be a good trade. So maybe we want to put some risk behind that, but also have a plan for if it goes wrong. If we start to see a 30-minute roll down from these areas, even if the 2-hour confirms up, if that 30-minute rolls down, that can head to lower levels again because these rips are getting sold. So it's very important to pay attention to, is there news behind some kind of big push? All right, is there news behind some kind of confirmation or just after some kind of confirmation? Those will be the things that I'm paying attention to over the next few trading sessions. Thank you so much for watching this video. I just wanted to really break this down for a full 21 minutes so you could watch it right before the market opens, and then we'll be live in just a little bit towards the open. Okay, guys? Thank you so much for watching this. Thank you guys for being a part of this community. Thank you guys for liking and subscribing. Peace out.